Since 1959, USS Independence has been on the leading edge in projecting naval air power and protecting U.S. national interests around the globe. Commissioned as a Forrestal-class attack aircraft carrier at the Brooklyn Naval Shipyard on January 10, 1959, she is the fifth ship to bear the name Independence. A mobile airfield that's able to travel more than 500 miles in a day, Independence is also a completely self-contained city with aircraft repair centers, electric and steam power plant, medical and dental facilities, and even radio and television stations. The more than 70 aircraft of Carrier Air Wing 5 provide Independence with awesome striking power and tactical flexibility, making her one of the most powerful weapon systems in the world today. Since commissioning, Freedom's flagship has been on the cutting edge in projecting naval air power and protecting U.S. national interests around the globe. Called on by President John F. Kennedy during the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis, Indy provided a strong, visible reminder of U.S. determination and resolve as a key participant in the U.S. blockade of Cuba. In 1964, the ship deployed for more than 7 months, including 100 days in the South China Sea off the coast of Vietnam. In 1982, the ship provided critical support to the multinational peacekeeping force in Lebanon. In 1983, aircraft from the embarked Air Wing flew missions in support of Operation Urgent Fury, the action to liberate the Caribbean nation of Grenada. In August 1990, with Carrier Air Wing 14 embarked, Independence acted to deter Iraqi aggression during Operation Desert Shield. She was the first carrier to enter the Arabian Gulf since 1974. The ship remained on station for more than 90 days and permanently reestablished a U.S. naval presence and provided ready response capabilities in the region. The ship again deployed to the Arabian Gulf in mid-1992 and started the Southern Watch operation, a multinational mission to monitor Iraqi compliance with the UN-established no-fly zone below the 32nd parallel. Deployed to the Gulf in 1995 for a third time, and extending her operations in the South China Sea to monitor Chinese missile exercises off the coast of Taiwan in 1996, the Indy has been called on time and time again to project naval air power and protect U.S. national interests around the globe. But more than an 80,000-ton warship, she has been called home to the sailors and Marines trained with exceptional skills to bring this massive steel to life. Young, dedicated, hard-working sailors are Indy's lifeblood. They have volunteered to serve their country, and they are proud of their ship and proud of the role they play in the United States Navy.
When somebody says independence, I think the word that comes to my mind more than anything is spirit. There is a, and you know, it's one of these esoteric concepts, spirit. It is a, there is a fighting spirit on this ship, that I think probably comes from the tremendous legacy of the ship name Independence that dates back to the very first day of our nation, the birth of our nation. I'm moved to tears by the word independence because of what that word really means. And as I said, I think this ship is an extension of the spirit of our nation, and that's what I feel. It's really special.
The history of USS Independence is long and distinguished, and though she will be decommissioned later this year, the legacy of Freedom's flagship will live on for a long time to come. During this 1997-1998 cruise video, we will take a look back as Indy sails into the history books once again before sailing into history. On August 12, 1997, Independence held her last change of command when Captain Mark Milliken became her last commanding officer.
My number one priority as I serve you is your health and physical readiness. The ship's maximum capability can only be achieved on a foundation of mentally and physically ready personnel. Ensure that we develop a professional attitude and atmosphere as we serve together on Independence. Now, crew of USS Independence, let's get on with business. Thank you.
Never another ship like this one gets it, but I think Kitty Hawk's the one that flies it next.
When Independence did get underway at the end of August, she was heading for a historical port visit to Japan's northern island, Hokkaido.
The USS Independence battle group has traveled all over the world, and we have visited lots and lots of wonderful places. But we have never before been welcomed so warmly as we are being welcomed today in Otaru.
With every news source from Japan watching and reporting pierside in Otaru, the locals were very receptive as more than 140,000 visitors crossed the brow on Independence during 2 days of general ship visitations. Indy's port visit to Otaru was the first ever by an aircraft carrier, and later, Navy Marine Corps News highlighted this news piece contributed by Indy's JO1 Henry Rice.
USS Independence is forward deployed to Yokosuka, Japan. They recently made a historic port visit to Otaru, Japan.
Ship and its crew really impressed the locals there, according to Petty Officer Henry Rice, who sent us this postcard from the fleet.
USS Independence recently made a historic port visit to Otaru, Japan. The event marked the first time an aircraft carrier pulled into the civilian port of Otaru. Once the brow was lowered, a small ceremony was held to welcome the Navy's oldest active ship to the island of Hokkaido. During the 5-day port visit, Independence hosted 2 days of general ship visitations, which drew approximately 140,000 people. The lines to get on the ship stretched more than 2 miles as people patiently waited to get their first look at the 81,000-ton ship. Once aboard, onlookers saw static displays of the embarked aircraft from Carrier Air Wing 5 and had a chance to interact with sailors and Marines. Even though Independence's port of call to Otaru ended 5 days after getting there, it left an impression that will stay with the people of Hokkaido for a long time to come. Reporting for Navy Marine Corps News, I'm Petty Officer Henry Rice.
Departing Otaru, Indy traveled south to operate in the Philippine Sea with her crew undergoing sea trials, celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, rolling up their sleeves for Indy's second total ships training assessment, and took part in bilateral carrier air operations with USS Nimitz in Exercise Valiant Blitz. Independence was soon back in her home port of Yokosuka, Japan, where her high-tempo pace continued as she brought aboard more than 4,000 family members and friends for a one-day friendship cruise. This one-day cruise allowed Indy personnel to give family and friends a taste of life at sea, where Indy crew members were soon to return. Exercise Full Eagle 97 brought Indy and her crew to Busan, South Korea. where the United States and South Korea would join air, ground, and naval forces to conduct this annual event. Over the next 2 weeks, Indian carrier Air Wing 5, operating off the east coast of South Korea, simulated conflict resolutions with the North Koreans if such a need should ever arise. As Indy's flight deck was busy launching aircraft into Exercise Full Eagle, inside the ship was keeping pace by showing the afloat training group members that Indy was ready for their final evaluation period.
ATG came aboard, this is the second time since I've been here they've been aboard. They can give us intense training in those outside eyes that we require to evaluate ourselves. Also, they're the experts in these different fields, and they can give us new techniques that are known throughout the fleet and some better ways to do business.
And as FEP and Full Eagle wrapped up, without slowing down, Independence steamed into Annulex, an annual routine bilateral exercise between the U.S. Navy and the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force.
Just with 1 day off, we stopped Full Eagle on the 4th. We transited over closer to Japan in the Sea of Japan. On the 5th, we scurried around and changed all of our communications and our crypto. Had to kind of change our mindset to a different scenario, the defense of Japan, and start Exercise Annulex on the 6th of
But
November.
before this high-octane underway period was to finish, and Indy was to take a winter break, there was one more exercise to take place on her flight deck. The first ever Millikan Marathon gave the crew an exercise where they blew off the steam and gave the cats a break. The ship pulled back into Yokosuka in the middle of November for her winter maintenance period and a break for the crew. On January 10th, 1998, Independence celebrated her 39th birthday, and it was at this time the crew learned that they would deploy to the Arabian Gulf.
Okay, I got the word from Admiral Moore and Admiral Natter and Admiral Clements and General Shelton, the President of the United States, and all the rest of those guys today. I got it this morning, just about 2 hours ago. I told you I'd tell you if I got it. Here's the schedule. We are going to go out in a blaze of glory because we're going to go to the Persian Gulf. So
that deployment order was then officially announced on Indy's flight deck by the Secretary of Defense, William Cohen, and reported by the media on CNN International.
U.S. State Department officials tell CNN they're running out of diplomatic options to end Iraq's resistance to UN inspections. CNN's Jamie McIntyre reports on U.S. preparations for possible military action.
Pentagon sources tell CNN the United States is preparing for a sustained series of missile strikes and air attacks against Iraq within the next few weeks if Iraqi President Saddam Hussein fails to grant full access to United Nations arms inspectors. President Clinton's national security team met over the weekend and is sending clear signals U.S. patience is wearing thin.
I don't want to really put a time frame on it, but I do want to tell you that this is not going to be something that can last much longer.
Great Britain has moved its aircraft carrier Invincible to the Gulf in a show of support. But U.S. officials tell CNN the United States has, quote, run out of diplomatic string and is willing to go it alone if France, Russia, and China continue to oppose United Nations authorization of military force. And in the U.S. Congress, President Clinton can expect bipartisan support.
I think we should be prepared to go forward militarily if we can't get some resolution relatively quickly.
The United States has 2 aircraft carriers on war footing in the Gulf, part of a massive force in the region that includes more than 300 warplanes and 30,000 troops. Earlier this week, U.S. Defense Secretary William Cohen gave a pep talk to the crew of the USS Independence, the next carrier headed to the Gulf.
You are what we call the steel and the sword of freedom, and you are at the very tip of that sword. You are forward deployed not only here, but you are shortly going to be on your way to the Persian Gulf. You are going to be replacing the Nimitz, which is due to be rotated out. It's an extremely important mission. As all of you know, we have had our differences, certainly with Saddam Hussein, who is someone who is determined to evade and circumvent what is required of him to measure up to, and that is full compliance with the United Nations resolutions.
Soon, the eyes of the whole world would be upon Independence as she would relieve the USS Nimitz to keep the presence of America in the Gulf as a reminder to Saddam Hussein that he needed to comply with the United Nations resolutions. But as Indy and her crew slipped out to sea in a mist of January rain, only family and friends saw her off. Independence cruised full speed towards the Gulf, steaming through the South China Sea, around Singapore, and through the Strait of Malacca into the Indian Ocean. As the temperatures rose outside, Indy crew members used the weeks of no flying to prepare for the upcoming role they would play in Operation Southern Watch. Catch the Super Bowl live via direct-to-sailors television, and tested their endurance in the Black History Month celebration marathon.
On your mark, ready, set, let's go. Dance floor pro, I know, you know, I go psycho when a new joint hit. Just can't sit, gotta get jiggy with it. Ooh, that's it, now honey, honey, come ride. DKNY, all up in my eye. You got a Prada bag with a lot of stuff in it. Give it to your friend, let's spin. Everybody looking at me, glancing a kid. Wishing they was dancing a jig here with this handsome kid. Sick a cigar right from Cuba Cuba. I just bite it, it's for the look, I don't light it. Ill way to ammo on the hand, stay on play. Give it up, jiggy, make it feel like foreplay. Yo, my cardio is infinite. Ha ha, Big Willie style's all in it. Getting jiggy with it. Getting jiggy with it. Getting jiggy with it. Getting jiggy with it. What? You on the ball with your kid? Watch your step, you might fall trying to do what I did. Mama, I'ma come close side in the middle of the club with the rubber dub. No love for the haters, mad cause I got floor seats at the Lakers. See me on the 50-yard line with the Raiders. Met Ali, he told me I'm the greatest. I got the fever for the flavor of a crowd pleaser. DJ play another from the Prince of this Shore Highness. Only bad chicks riding my whip. South to the west, to the east, to the north. Bump my hips and watch them go off. But go off and get shit sure. You don't stop in the winter order. Summertime. I makes it high, getting jiggy with them. Getting jiggy with it. Getting jiggy with it. Getting jiggy with it. 850 IS if you need a lift. Who's the kid in the drop? Who else? Will Smith. Living that life, some consider a myth. Rock from South Street to 125th. Women used to tease me, give it to me now nice and easy. Since I moved up like George and Wheezy, cream to the maximum, I'll be axing them. Would you like to bounce with your brother that's platinum? Never see Will attacking them. Rather play ball with Shaq and them, flatten them. Like getting, thought I took a spell, but I didn't. Trust the lady of my life, she hitting. Hit her with a drop top, with the ribbon. Crib for my mom on the outskirts of Philly. You trying to flex on me? Don't be silly. Getting jiggy with it. Getting jiggy with it. Getting jiggy with it. Getting jiggy with it.
A third U.S. aircraft carrier has arrived in the Persian Gulf now, along with escort ships carrying cruise missiles. The USS Independence joined the Nimitz and the George Washington in the waters near Iraq. 2,000 Marines on 4 ships of the USS Guam Amphibious Ready Group are in the Mediterranean. They'll soon be deployed if they need to be in the Persian Gulf. Defense officials say additional stealth fighters and B-52 bombers may also be dispatched to the region.
With Independence in the Gulf and finished turning over with the USS Nimitz, her air wing began patrolling the no-fly zone over Iraq as Indy and her crew became key participants in ensuring Iraqi compliance with UN weapons inspectors. In the weeks that followed, the world watched the I-5 team's performance in the Gulf through the number of media embarks held aboard Indy. CNN, NBC, CBS, Fox News, and every other news affiliate aired programs that focused on the events taking place in the Arabian Gulf.
Fred Francis, NBC News in the Persian Gulf.
But it was the Navy's own Navy and Marine Corps news program that told the Indy sailors' stories the best.
After returning from the Gulf, Secretary Cohen and top Pentagon leadership briefed President Clinton on their trip and the status of forces in the Arabian Gulf. Following the brief, the president addressed the nation from the Pentagon.
The weightiest decision any president ever has to make is to send our troops into harm's way. And force can never be the first answer, but sometimes it's the only answer. You are the best prepared, best equipped, best trained fighting force in the world. I know that the people we may call upon in uniform are ready. The American people have to be ready as well.
As you saw there, our leadership really has a lot of faith and confidence in all the American forces, including the newly arrived Independence Battle Group.
Now, the Indy is there after relieving USS Nimitz so they could complete their round-the-world deployment and return to their new home port in Norfolk on time.
And while the Indy and George Washington battle groups exert maritime and regional dominance, there are many sailors and Marines behind the scenes that form an unbreakable team that can execute any mission swiftly and surely.
To tell us more, we go to Petty Officer Mike Rainey and our news team embarked on Indy.
America's resolve on this issue is plainly stated with the continued presence of Tomahawk-capable men of war and 2 aircraft carriers, USS George Washington and Indy. Every sailor and Marine on station is ready for the call.
Well, I would assess the readiness of the Independence Battle Group as very, very high. We have the vast majority of our young men and women who serve in this battle group volunteer to serve in the Independence Battle Group because of our forward deployed status, and they enjoy the status of being being referred to as the tip of the spear.
Projecting power takes teamwork. From the sailors providing auxiliary power to the squadron aircraft mechanics, these sailors and Marines know every job on board is important.
Well, for me, my philosophy is if my systems and my subsystems don't work, the aircrafts cannot fly.
With 2 aircraft carriers on station here in the Arabian Gulf, Navy presence is obvious, and flight operations are a large part of that. But we'd like to take you behind the scenes and introduce you to the Indy sailors who keep the ship steaming and the aircraft flying. Here in the catapult steam repair shop, sailors make sure the ship has power to drive the flight deck catapults.
I maintain steam coming from the main space go to the aircraft where we launch it at. It's very important because if we don't maintain 560 psi, we will lose the plane or we can't launch and the cat will go down.
In the hangar bay, Indy damage controlmen learn how to protect themselves and the crew from chemical and biological warfare. Critical training for Indy's critical mission.
This training is very important because we don't want to contaminate other parts of the ship that are already clean. So when each member goes through there, they have to be very careful not to step back into contaminated areas as well as to recontaminate themselves. Overall, this could save everybody's life if they do this correctly.
It's also paramount that air traffic controllers do their job correctly. Pilots rely on the ACs to get them on and off the flight deck safely.
We launch and recover aircraft aboard the carrier. We're on the Independence. Our main job is to make sure that these aircraft, when they come back from their mission,
get back safely aboard the carrier as quickly and as safely as possible. When it comes to the aircraft on Indy, regular maintenance is key. There's a group of sailors behind the scenes who keep those efforts running smoothly.
My main job is ordering plugs and make sure that they have incorporated so the mechs know how they're supposed to do their job. I mainly give them the information on how to incorporate or maintain the aircraft so they be up to date, safe for flight.
And before any pilot leaves the flight deck, he must be properly suited up. This happens with the help of a Squadron Aircrew Survival Equipmentman, or PR.
I usually check their flight gear, and normally I just watch them get their gear on and find out if they need anything else or if they need any help.
While PRs get pilots ready, aviation electronics technicians make the last-second preparations to ensure the aircraft are ready to go.
As a flight deck troubleshooter, we just basically look over the airplane, make sure there's nothing wrong with it, nothing that can inhibit it from flying. If there's any problems that will down the aircraft, we fix them real quick to get them off the deck. The aircrew really depends on us. If it wasn't for us, they would never leave the deck.
It's obvious that Indy sailors are working very hard out here, and the ship's doing all it can to keep sailors in touch with their families back home. The oldest ship in the Navy is using today's technology with phone calls from sea and the internet.
The Indy homepage is full of information. The best part about it is the notepad. Now this is a place where people can come in and they can see what's going on in Indy today. We also have a care line where the commanding officer puts out information just for family members. There's a lot of information that people love to see, and lately we've been getting more than 30 emails a day saying how our site is bringing people closer to their sailor. And Cyber Sailor, that's why our site should win your challenge.
Family members aren't the only ones excited about Indy's website. Sailors aboard are glad their families can get an Indy perspective of what's happening on their ship.
Well, my wife checks out the Indy webpage as often as she can to see whoever she can. She knows quite a few of my friends. When she saw me on the webpage, she immediately emailed me, and she was very excited about seeing me. And after she emailed me, she emailed my parents back in Manteca. And as soon as they got the letter from her, they also went to the homepage and they saw me on the homepage.
It's really nice to see technology working for these sailors. This is Indy's final cruise before decommissioning, and it's very impressive to see how proud these sailors are of their ship being in a real-world situation.
The words, "Don't tread on me," being the Navy's the oldest and the finest itself, is not things that this crew takes lightly. Being the oldest and the finest, we actually believe that we are the most capable ship in the Navy.
Even though it's the oldest ship, we're still ready for anything.
Not only are these sailors proud to serve on the fleet's oldest ship, they recognize the importance of making this Arabian Gulf deployment before Indy retires.
I'm proud to be a part of history. I'm very proud to know the crew. I'm very proud to be a part of the crew, squadron-wise and I-5 team.
This is definitely something that will stay with me for a very long time, being out here like this, forward deployed and in this operational environment. Something that may stay with me definitely for the rest of my life and probably be the highlight of my career in the United States Navy.
It'll be a sad day in the Navy when Indy decommissions, but don't count her out just yet. She is on station here in the Arabian Gulf, and all of her sailors, both behind the scenes and on deck, have a job to do. And this crew does it well. From the Arabian Gulf aboard USS Independence, I'm Petty Officer Mike Rainey.
As tensions eased in the region, Indy stayed on station to maintain a U.S. presence in the Gulf. During this period, she and her crew hosted distinguished visitors that would take Indy's spirit back with them to the States.
With tensions in the Arabian Gulf in a diplomatic pause, USS Independence took time to host a visitor from Capitol Hill.
Senator Robert Torricelli of New Jersey joined the Indy crew to see firsthand what life is like at the tip of the sword. As sailors aboard USS Independence await the resolution of current tensions in the region, their efforts have captured the attention of all Americans, including some very important people from our nation's capital. The latest to set foot on Indy and her more than 80,000 tons of forward-deployed American diplomacy was Senator Robert Torricelli from New Jersey, who was very impressed with the Indy and her crew.
Well, it's wonderful because I've been on a lot of Navy ships, but I've heard about this one longer than any other ship in the Navy, and there's a lot of history around this hull, a lot of great men who've come through it, a lot of times that this ship has answered the call and helped our country, and it's exciting to be on it because of the quality of the people here, but also the history.
The visit allowed Senator Torricelli a chance to enjoy Indy's hospitality, not to mention her cuisine. It was also a chance for some sailors from New Jersey to talk face-to-face with their voice in Washington.
Also visiting Indy during this time was talk show host Montel Williams.
It's not very often that you get an opportunity to retrace your footsteps in life. And coming on board this at USS Independence has given me just that opportunity. It was almost 18 years ago that I was right here in the Persian Gulf on board a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier called the USS Kitty Hawk. And while I've been aboard, it's given me an opportunity to think back to all the great memories of being able to be here and the camaraderie and serving with your fellow shipmates and understanding that the job that you're doing is important, not just for yourself, but for maintaining the democracy that we have at home. But it also kind of brings back some memories that, to me, are a little on the sad side. Because I remember when I was here thinking that I was forgotten, thinking that nobody at home really cared because I was really more interested in the hardware, like the airplanes and the missiles and the ships, and not the people. But if I stop and think about it and I look out here at these guys, I see the same faces that I saw almost 18 years ago, guys that wish that they were back home, guys that wish that they got an opportunity to hear from their wives. Even though technology's made it a little easier and they can get email and they can get letters a little bit more often than we were able to get them, it still doesn't satisfy that burning in your heart and the fact that you miss being home. So if this is a way for us to bring a little piece of home to them, I think the more of us ought to try to do this. Go.
Williams dedicated 2 shows to the crew of Independence and generated a homegrown media attention to Indy sailors by persuading his audience to write a letter to any sailor. Before departing Indy, Williams took part in wrapping up the Black History Month celebration.
So I say, at the ending ceremony today, make this a beginning. Make it a beginning of ceremony within your heart to understand if you can work beside somebody, you can play with somebody, you can be a friend with somebody, you can turn to somebody and ask them for help, and they are different than you here, then you can also do the same thing when you get home and try to change some minds and attitudes there, because it's going to take us, because nobody else back there has the leadership it's going to take to make a difference. I applaud you. Thank you.
As more and more headlines would indicate, the crisis in the Arabian Gulf was calming, and Indy and her sailors were now looking to the possibility of a port call or returning home early. In March, after more than a month out to sea, Independence began a series of port calls. Both Bahrain and Jubilee welcomed the land-hungry sailors, and in the months that followed, Indy would see her way back to Jubilee for a total of 5 port calls, allowing more well-deserved liberty time for Indy's crew.
That's when the energy comes and the dark side's light and the vampires roam. You stretch your ass to wearing your suicide poem and a cross from a faith that died before Jesus came. You're building a mystery. You sleep with voodoo dolls and you won't give up the search for the ghosts in the halls. You wear sandals in the snow and a smile that won't wash away. Can you look out the window without your shadow getting in the way? You're so beautiful with an angel charming and so careful.
While Indy kept on station in the Arabian Gulf, she continued to demonstrate her professionalism and created headlines of her own. The Supply Department won the Prizefighter Excellent Award, making this its 6th consecutive win. VF-154's own Lieutenant Commander Uramis Sauce was announced as the Commander, Naval Air Pacific's Aviator of the Year. And Indy's website was chosen as the #1 homepage for large afloat commands in the Navy Marine Corps News Cyber Sailors Command Homepage Challenge.
The winner is the USS Independence. Indy has great news for the crew and families. Great links to the Air Wing and to other ships in the battle group. This button will take you to JO3 Rohana's daily diary on what is going on aboard Indy. This is a great site for family and friends. They can log on and see what Indy sailors are up to, even catch a glimpse of someone they know, as well as in the photo gallery. Now wait, that's not all. How about the Command Ball Cap giveaway? And before you ask, they did not bribe me with a ball cap. So there you are, the top sites of winter of '98. Give them a round of applause.
The headlines continued with the HS-14 Chargers being nominated for the Chief of Naval Operations Safety Award, 59 new warfare specialists being penned by Rear Admiral Moore, and the Honorable Bill Richardson, the United States Ambassador to the United Nations, came aboard Independence to speak with Indy sailors about their continued role in Operation Southern Watch.
This magnificent aircraft carrier represents the ultimate instrument of American military power and is an enduring symbol of our nation's commitment to sea power as an essential element of our national security. From the Cuban Missile Crisis to the shores of Lebanon and Operation Desert Shield, the Independence has been upholding American interests for nearly 40 years.
During part of this time, a 6-person production crew from Nova came aboard Indy to film battle group operations in the Gulf for a 2-hour documentary. And as Indy was getting underway from her last port visit to Jubilee, the new Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy came aboard Independence to get on the deck plates and meet the sailors he's serving in Washington.
The fact that you guys spooled up and deployed the way that you did, everybody, that was incredulous to everyone. I got to tell you, everybody was shaking their heads back there. You are still the talk of the town, but required to sucking it up and doing what you're asked to do. I mean, you're the definition of flexibility for everybody right now.
Indy and her sailors kept pace with the carrier operations and the demands of being on station in the Arabian Gulf with the same performance that earned them the 1997 Battle Efficiency Award.
Today, and I've asked the captain and the master chief to join me. It's my pleasure to present this plaque that has come in, and it is a monster, and I'm going to present it to Master Chief Dwiggins because this is really going to the entire crew of the Independence, and I think he probably is our best representative of the crew. Let me turn around here so everybody can see it, see what a great plaque it is. And I'm going to reach over here and hand it to the Master Chief and offer my most heartfelt congratulations for a job well done to each and every man on this ship.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of the crew, I'm proud to accept this.
While en route back to Indy's home port, Captain Richard McCard officially assumed command as the 54th Commander of Carrier Air Wing 5, succeeding Captain Richard Malden. Independence spent close to 5 months underway on this unexpected deployment, her crew in the news time and time again, and commended by their leaders in Washington, returned to their home port in Yokosuka, Japan on June 5th and prepared for Indy's final departure from there.
As the son of a sailor, I went out on the sea for adventure, expanding the view of the captain and crew like a man just released from indenture. As a dreamer of dreams and a traveling man, I have chalked up many a mile, read dozens of books about heroes and crooks, and I learned much from both of their styles. Son of a son, son of a son, son of a son of a sailor, son of a gun, load the last ton, one step ahead of the jailer, now way in the near future, southeast of disorder. You can shake the hand of the mango man as he greets you at the border, and the lady she hails from Trinidad, island of the spices, salt-free of meat and cinnamon sweet, and the rum is for all your good vices. Haul the sheet in as we ride on the wind that our forefathers harnessed before us. Hear the bells ring as the tide rigging sings, it's the son of a gun of a chorus. Where it all ends, I can't fathom, my friends. If I knew, I might toss out my anchor. So I cruise along, always searching for songs. Not a lawyer, a thief, or a banker, but son of a son, son of a son, son of a son of a sailor, son of a gun, load the last ton, one step ahead of the jailer. I'm just the son of a son, son of a son, son of a son of a sailor. The sea's in my veins, my tradition remains. I'm just glad I don't live in a trailer.
On June 25th, Rear Admiral Moore turned over the reins of Balfour's 7th Fleet to Rear Admiral Timothy Keating during a ceremony held aboard Independence. With little time to spend with their family and friends before Indy was to depart Yokosuka, Indy's crew enjoyed events like MWR-sponsored tours to Disneyland and Mount Fuji and the Seafaith 4th of July celebration. On July 7, 1998, Independence departed Yokosuka, Japan for her last time as she began her trip home to the United States.
To all you, fair winds of following seas, thank you, farewell, domo, arigato, sayonara. Independence, man the rail!